Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mom's Movement and Mindset, how to break through resistance and transform your body and mind. I'm your host, Don Fisher. Excited to continue this interview series with a guest who I have previously spoke to. She is incredible, and I'm sure you'll all see that today as well. This is Bonnie Golden. She is a leading pre-postnatal yoga expert and international author of the recently released book, Yoga for Holistic Healing, published by Rockridge Press. She's the owner of Yoga and Balance and yogawithbonnie.com. She specializes in teaching yoga across the lifespan with expertise in several yoga areas, including pre, postnatal, postpartum, and healthy aging, boomers, and beginners. She has guided thousands of students over many years in classes, workshops, and private sessions. Bonnie students enjoy her accessible teaching style, which focuses on self awareness, empowerment, calm, and fun. Her motto is It's Your Yoga, and she encourages each student to honor their beautiful and unique mind, body, breath. Bonnie's vast experience in teaching is fused with her love of lifelong learning, and she is delighted to continually teach, educate, practice, write about, and study yoga and meditation. I feel like I just, went over your life story there in a very, very brief moment. But hey, Bonnie, how
That's
are we
just a
doing today?
piece.
Um,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. It's great to speak to you again. The insight you offered during my first summit, I couldn't wait to get to chat with you again. So we'll just jump right in. I know you got some great responses here for the questions today. So first one for you is where does resistance come from?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me down. And we were chatting before the recording started, and I was saying that when we care about something, we feel a little stress, even if we've done it 10,000 times. That upregulation doesn't go away. So we can either work with that or we can back off and not do the thing, right? So you were saying, oh, you're resisting maybe? I said, no, I'm excited. So I just wanted to share that with your viewers that sometimes when we're nervous about doing something, it means we care. And that's another reframe. So I'm excited to be here. I care about this. And for me, resistance, when you and I think about it, it might be something completely else going on besides resistance. So when you look at what resistance definition is, it can denote being oppositional or contrary, like the proverbial 2 year old, or rebelliousness. And I think what the something else that's going on might be is something pretty practical or something profound. And so I like to often reframe if I think someone that perhaps going to work with is resistant is what else is going on? Like have a conversation, communicate about that. For example, someone might just be hesitant to take the next step because of practical things, like who's going to take care of my children while I do this thing for myself? Who's going to take care of my elder husband or my elder parents? If and not only who the practical, but do I deserve to get away? How can I dare whatever leave them? So it may not be resistance. Partially, it might be just practical. Like what do I need to do to make this happen? The more profound, what we might call resistance, could be more fear, um, fear of the unknown, and which a lot of us have, to varying degrees. But also, fear can come with the backstory of trust. So that's a really key thing. Can I trust you, Don, with my breath, with my body, with my mind? Same for me. Can the person trust me? Am I going to respect them? Am I going to give them all I have? Am I there with my heart, or am I just there to get quote unquote another client, which is never the case. I know with either one of us, but we all know we've been in the world and there's stuff out there. So trust, I think, has to be built, and that's a way to overcome whatever we call resistance. A person trusting us with their time, their money, their energy, our relationship. So that is a little more multidimensional answer to where the resistance come from, maybe, than you might have thought about. I don't know, or the listeners might have.
No, I'm glad you touched on that because it's definitely, you painted it being twofold, because there definitely is the practical element, which is it's been even my experience. It is pretty standard, right? Like, oh, like I need to get a babysitter for my kids if I need to go at this time. And so yeah, things come up, things get in the way. Um, and then beyond that, the more they think and they take that dive into it, like, well, should I even put the effort into getting a babysitter? Is it worth it for me? So yeah, I mean the one led into the other. So it was so perfectly put. So with that, like in your, everything that you've done in your career, what are some examples of, working with, whether it be current clients now or people you worked with in the past, potential clients, what are some of the resistance that you've witnessed from them?
Yeah. So the patterns are, of course, pretty individualized, but not getting started with something new, with working with me, and either in a class or one on one, has to do sometimes with being, use the word frozen, like stuck. Um, so you could be frozen in self definition, like I am not a flexible person, therefore I can't do yoga. I mean, I hear that a lot. It's kind of a, you know. So you freeze, you have this label on yourself, and or I'm not strong to do weight training or resistance band, which is something I'm getting into. So this labeling ourselves and then getting frozen in that label like it's, cut in stone. I also hear a lot in the yoga teaching, oh, I've never been able to meditate. And then I'll say, well, have you ever stared at a sunset? Mm-hmm. Well, then you've done a form of meditation. you know, so that frozen piece of self-talk. Also, fear, like I mentioned earlier. Some people are more willing to just jump in, dive in, and others are much more hesitant to take what they perceive as risky, even though we don't think it's risky. There is a risk-taking behavior that different people have developed at different degrees over time, based on all kinds of things. So it's been interesting, Don, because during this pandemic, particularly before the vaccines came out, one message of people who have been frozen is, I don't like online. It's like, okay, fine. And what are you going to do instead is my question. What are you going to do now? Are you then doing your holistic health practices without me live guiding you? And I don't talk like that to people, but it's very interesting that adaptability during the pandemic and or lack thereof has really come to fore. And so I think that sort of this frozen definition, these frozen labels we put on ourselves can really create resistance to jumping into something new or even putting the big toe into something new.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the big thing I kind of took from everything you just said there too is just like the belief system. Um, People, their beliefs are just that. They're their beliefs. They've been conditioned over time. Because one that I've gotten before, both just on my own and working for the companies I previously worked with is, oh well, like when I get in shape, I'll hire a trainer, right? And it's like it makes me wonder, like, where did that belief come from? Because that's really not right. It's somebody, it's a guide, right? It takes you from start to wherever you want to go. Um, but yeah, no, that definitely shows like the beliefs that some of us have. But anyhow, with now like these clients, right? If they have something specific in mind, and I'm sure maybe you could share something with pertaining to your practice, but like a specific goal, are there any tips that you could provide to help somebody kind of like overcome that discomfort, that fear, the anxiety, the resistance that's kind of blocking them from moving forward?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Comes with listening to the person you're in a human relationship with. So I listen, and this relates to what you're saying about belief system, because what happens, we people show us what they believe by how they talk, the language they use. And I am a big believer in that our self talk can create how we feel and our reality and the actions we take from there. And we've all heard that a million times. Well, I hope we have. But are we doing anything about it? So that's the thing. Like it's like smoking. We all know it can relate to health issues, including cancer. But are you changing, anything about it? So the self-talk reveals the programming. What are the repeated things the person is saying to me? Can't is a big one, and what if is another big one. The catastrophizing, and also perfectionism comes into play. Like in the yoga space, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? And so you can hear from their questions and their self-talk that there's this messaging of having to live up to some kind of standard, from wherever that came from. So the self-talk is something I'll say can't or won't, right? So there's some things I can't fly out of here. I'll buy that. I'll buy that, except on an airplane, right? So there's some real high probability can'ts, but a lot of can'ts can be changed into I choose not to, which is a whole different locus of control, which I want to touch on too. I would also check how they're feeling in their body, even when they're talking to me. Do you feel tense? Or, not in quite that way, but I could even see when I'm talking to someone, and even on Zoom, that there's maybe fear and nervousness about our conversation. Sometimes people come to us, and I know you know this so well, with not such good experiences, say in gym class, or being chosen or not chosen for a team. Like they have a lot of, I won't say extreme trauma, but memories of doing something in the fitness or holistic health area that are still living in their tissues. So it's something to talk about. Like it's not the same, you're not going to be thrown in the shower for not doing whatever. You know what I mean? Like 50 burpees instead of 100. Like there's stuff that people remember and they don't want to deal. I don't know if you've come across that or not. So the self-talk, the what are you feeling in your body, and also visualization is something I work with. Is what do you visualize this to be? Let's do a reality check. And now, I think one of the most powerful questions I ask someone is, what do you want your health, fitness, your holistic being, your life to be like in 3 to 5 years? What do you see? And I know that's a long way down, but it's really hits home. Doing the same thing for the next 3 to 5 years will get you the same results, to say a cliche. So let's start with some small steps to get there, right? And it's important to note that just having the conversation, and then I also pat people and myself on the back when I make the call or I have the conversation. That's a first step right there. You've done the first step. Okay, and now what's the next to that goal, and what's the next? And we work on that together, of course. Myself and my students, like, what do you want to get from this? What do you want to get from this session, even? A lot of them say, you just give it to me. I don't want to think. So I do. But I mean, it's a partnership.
That I think that's important to know too, though, right? Like just knowing yourself. Like some people, like the main thing they need is the accountability. Just like I know if it's on the calendar, like it's going to get done, and if it's that small. But the 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 thing I love that you said too in the very beginning there is, and this is something I always harp on, is we can know like what to eat. I can know I need to exercise, and this is just so I don't know. It's frustrating because right, like we know, but again, and I say this a lot. It's rendered useless without application. Like unless I'm actually doing it, unless I'm living it, nothing is going to change. So that was one thing that I love you said because I relate to that so well. And then the second thing you touched on is, often I guess that human beings are just driven so much by our feelings, how we feel. And so getting somebody out of that current negative, I guess, quote unquote, or connotation in the moment and thinking about 3 to 5 years from then, like the person that they want to create and like resonating with those feelings can, I could see how that would help somebody work through that present moment of the resistance, right? And that discomfort that they're feeling.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, the visioning, visualization. Even it, we will do, I'll offer a guided visualization about, see yourself in X number of years. And I'm sure you've done something like that too, or even months. I mean, I'm just picking years because that is like, wow, that hits home.
Absolutely. So pretty, I guess, some common objections maybe you face when people want to say why they can't do something. So when you have either an active client maybe thinking about stopping or potential clients voicing concerns about, like money, time, I'm busy. How do you coach? How do you go about coaching somebody through those moments and
Yeah.
helping them to like step outside their comfort zone and I guess really seeing their truth in that moment to move forward?
Yeah, and that's key. What you just said, their truth is their truth. Um, it's not necessarily the facts. So I discriminate between, or distinguish, I should say, between truth and facts. So that it's a little more, it's a different approach. But truth is your truth and what you believe, whether it's based on facts or not. Okay? So I really like to work with everyone, and this is how everything I'm telling you, I've worked on myself. So I've lived this. Let's look at this situation through the lens of a plain, Polaroid camera that is, as my knowledge, has no way to change the settings. You just hold it up and the picture is there. Let's look through the eyes of a camera and see what's really there. What are the facts versus what are all these things you're laying onto the situation? So that's truth versus facts. So you know that what is in a person's mind is real. So the mind doesn't know the difference between what is real, what is facts, and what is truth. It processes things the same way. That's why we, as humans, lay in bed awake about something because we're imagining, and the mind thinks it's really happening right now. And then the body thinks it's really happening right now. So I really teach people in my years of counseling and teaching is, first of all, listen, and then try to gently but respectfully and factually, gotta change my language, kind of ask them, is that a fact or is that a belief that you've created over time based on whatever? So after I listen a bit, I try to find a no risk way for someone to get, or little risk way for someone who's resistant, if we use that word, to get started. And the first thing I say is, you calling me is your first step. That's like huge. Dialing. Who's dialing the phone? But, dialing the phone. And give them credit for that and show them that they've already done that first step to change. I also want to be able to have us trust each other. So I mentioned trust earlier, and I think that's really key. Like, trust me, aside from whatever credentials I might hold, am I going to give them a space to feel respected and see them as an individual. And so I would urge anyone, hesitant to know that we on this call, that's our philosophy. It's not a cookie cutter approach. I also offer people, a free video. Like, let me send you a link if we're talking on the phone to a video of me teaching. You can get a taste of how I teach. Or I offer them a reduced rate on a group class for the first class so that they can kind of, not a huge commitment at all, Again, do some action after the second step, the first step was the call. The second step is do some little low risk action. Now, some people after the first call is like, I'm in, and others, you want to, again, earn, I should say, their trust by saying, this is who I am, this is what I have to offer you.
Yeah, like always, right? You're touching on so many great points. But a recurring theme that I've seen in speaking to the speakers to this point is one is, feelings aren't facts, but like you said, the brain wants to believe it's a fact. And then specifically, the one, I guess, kind of objection we touched on, which would be financial. I spoke to a financial coach and she said, very similar to you, it's like about, is that a fact or not? Like she'll ask her clients, like, have you actually looked at your budget? Like there's a very clear cut way to like quantify that. But again, the belief will take hold and like overpower any other or further action at times. And then the other thing you mentioned is just pausing. So like in those moments, like being able to kind of pause and like work through it, and then so that you can get onto the small action step instead of, I guess, maybe running away, shying away, being resistant to it, and then not moving at all. You know.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a turn here, a little bit more positive now, because we're experiencing resistance. We're kind of stagnant, but at least we're becoming a little bit aware. So now, when somebody takes that small action, maybe that leads to a bigger action. But either way, action breeds more action. Can you speak a little bit to how overcoming resistance and any struggle somebody may be facing will help them to develop strength and allow them to then face larger challenges down the road?
Yeah. It is so empowering to take that first step. And what we are exhibiting is what the psychologists call self efficacy. You may have heard that word, but it's our willingness to believe in our abilities to accomplish a task. And people's belief in their self efficacy varies. It could vary by time of life. But anytime we accomplish a desired step toward a goal, we shore up our confidence. Boy, it's what they say, a win, right? It's a win. And it is something that is then challenging our truths with facts, right? So if I'd really like to honor when people do that, and really honor the fact that you are exhibiting confidence and efficacy by doing this. The other thing that comes up, I think, in many people is their belief in their ability to make changes, which is called, to make effectual changes, which is called locus of control. And you might have heard that in your psychology studies with your bachelor's degree or master's or whatever, or in sports psychology, like knowing that I have some agency over my life. I'm not I'm not just a responder to whatever is going on, the bank account, even the childcare, etc. I can do some actions to take the locus of control into my own hands. And that builds on itself. You get empowered by each of those as we talk about little steps. There is a writer, and your listeners, you may be very familiar with his writings. His name is Viktor Frankl. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I've heard the name.
He was a concentration camp survivor, and he survived, and he created a psychology called logotherapy. And he has many empowering quotes, because think about it. He and many other souls were definitely victimized, right, by the situation. There was very little they could do. However, he has a quote that says, basically, we do have access to how we think about that situation. In his quote, and I grabbed this for our meeting today, everything can be taken from a man, or I'll say woman too, or person, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, To choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And he created, I mean, I have goosebumps thinking about that because, you think of people who were in the most dire circumstances, like a concentration camp, like, Nelson Mandela in prison for 27 years. They still had this agency over how they looked and dealt with the situation. Not to say it was perfect, but that helped them survive. So that's what I would like to say, that we have no matter what, the bank account, all the stuff, we still have choices on how we want to take care of ourselves and how we want to respond to what's handed to us, and how then we want to initiate, which is that locus of control and self-efficacy, change. Because we only get one go round.
This is
So
true.
as far
This
as
is
I
true.
know.
Yeah, who knows, right? Maybe
Right.
we'll find out one day. I'm not.
Yeah.
But no, I mean that's yeah, that is super powerful. It's definitely subjective. I had one of my coaches recently, very similar to what you were just talking on about, like yelling, for example, right? There's a conditioned belief around yelling where it tends to be viewed as like negative, but there are instances where somebody is yelling and it's positive, right? Like maybe at a sporting event or something. So it comes back to like how we choose, right? The choosing is like what I was kind of getting from you right there. Like that's the empowerment right there. Like bare minimum, I can choose how I'm going to think of what's in front of me and the environment and the situation. Um, and if nothing else, I mean, that is super powerful because I can guide my thoughts. I mean, what's more powerful than my thoughts? I'm in my head all day. I'm a nut. So,
Right.
you know, I'd rather have the positive. All right. So last question for you here, Bonnie. Um, let's just take it home here. What are some of the rewards of overcoming resistance?
Yeah, so they're huge. They're encompassing. I'm not going to talk about the physical rewards, all the evidence we have of what we do, like help people in a holistic way. But I'll talk about the bigger rewards, and that's a fuller life, confidence in yourself as a very special soul, human in this body on this earth. Health, of course, is everything. And so that, if you don't have your health, you have pretty much very little you can do, right? You have your mind, again, we do have that, hopefully. But since it's all connected, there's a lot of, well, I'm not going to go down that road about how the body can affect the mind and our attitude and all of that stuff. But getting back to your question, the big overall answer to me is a fuller, more satisfying life.
Yeah, I mean that definitely speaks to one of the organizations I'm associated with. They have their facets of health, and one of the facets is existential health. Like our feeling of belonging. Like I wake up in the morning and I feel like I have a purpose on this planet. And yeah, that's super important. If you're waking up and you don't really feel like you belong, there's not going to be much action right beyond that.
Right, right. Like people will know, they work with you. I got a date with Don at 10 o'clock. He's going to know if I'm showing up, and he's going to have that beautiful smile waiting for me and see me as who I am. And that's everything. That's everything.
Absolutely. Bonnie, thank you so much, everybody at home. Again, this is Mom's Movement and Mindset, how to break through resistance and transform your body and mind. I give you again, Bonnie Golden. Bonnie, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here and to offer all the insight and the value that you just provided.
Thank you so much for having me, for inviting me. It's been a joy and pleasure.
Thank you.